So what is the web? Maybe we should start with what the web is not, particularly because people often mistake the web for internet. So the web is not internet. Internet is a set of standards and technologies that enable us to connect computers with each other and connect networks. It can be seen as a road network on which different kinds of services, goods, people and vehicles pass through. On that road network, since there are different kinds of goods on the internet, there will be different kinds of applications. The web is one of the applications that is going to pass through that network. But there are others, like emails, telephoning, with internet is a third example. So be sure to differentiate that framework of connected networks, that is internet, and one of the applications, on top of that framework, that is the web. But the web in itself was first developed as an application, designed to share information. That was at the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s at CERN. The idea is to link documents to be able to access those documents, even if they're not stored on the same computer. At first, it was for scientists, and then it quickly became accessible to the public. And the web became the World Wide Web. The web in itself is a bit ambiguous because it is both the standards that enable to create that object and the object emerging from it, the World Wide Web we all use every day. The web has two sides from the beginning. There's a documentary side that will enable us to link documents stored on several computers. But there is also the idea that several people will contribute to several documents on several servers. So there is a documentary side and a social side from the start because it allows certain interactions between contributors. So at first, the web was accessible in writing mode, but few used that possibility. Most of the first web servers were accessed in reading mode. After that, it was not before the mid-90s and the reopening of the web in writing mode with wikis that everyone could enjoy the possibility of contributing. It is at that moment that the web became social, with all the social applications we know today on the web. Social networks have many different forms, but a social network such as we hear about today in newspapers can be defined as an application that uses science and information technologies, so the web, internet, and mobiles to connect people. That's what they have in common. Then all these applications differ from one another in the way they are used. For example, it can be linking resumes together, like LinkedIn, or exchanging more or less serious messages, like Facebook. They will vary because of the type of links in the network. For example, is it a friends network? Is it a professional network? Is the network based on common interests? They will also differ with regards to the means of access. Is it accessed through the web or is it accessed with a mobile? For example, they will differ with regards to the contents that is shared. For example, is it a video sharing network? Is it a short message sharing network? All those aspects will differentiate the various social networks applications. Let's talk about a slightly more specific notion called social media. In other words, if that social network enables to produce and exchange contents, YouTube is a social media, for example. We can also distinguish explicit social networks, which means networks that actually tells about the different kinds of links that people have with each other, actively report those links. When I'm on LinkedIn, for example, I will report the links I have with another person. Then there are implicit social networks, because they are weighed up according to their users' activity. In science, we have social applications, such as ResearchGate that allows scientists to post and preserve their bibliography, all the articles they write. So through that activity, and by identifying the co-authors, we are able to deduce there is an implicit social network with that activity. Another differentiation that can be made between those applications is, are they mainly related to the web, or are they mainly related to other platforms? For example, an application such as Tumblr was born and has permanently taken root on the web, whereas applications like WhatsApp or Snapchat were born and are mainly used through mobile networks. So in conclusion, we could say that all in all, there is both a shared idea which is that those are applications using new information, technologies to connect between people, to create bonds between people, and there are lots of differences regarding their usage, the type of contents, the kind of links they allow to create. Actually, social networks did not wait either for internet or even computing to exist. The idea of a social network has existed for a very long time. The idea of social structure, because it is important. Having a network is a well-known expression. And in sociological studies too. These structures have been studied for a long time. Let's not make a fuss about this. Even looking back on the beginning, with computer science, that was even before internet, bulletin boards and a BBS system actually started being used before internet, in the 70s. Then there are applications like Usenet, or news groups which will await Internet's complete deployment to be used either. Then there are also mails with mailing lists. There are IRCs for synchronized chats, so a rather synchronized communication. So forums, or chat rooms, talk rooms, began very early in computer sciences. What happened after that is not only Internet's deployment, but mostly the web's deployment. The web's deployment brought a turnaround in the 90s, because it generalized the access to Internet. Technophiles aren't the only ones accessing that space now, but at the same time, the web transformed and became social. So what we have around us is not a library anymore, but it's a place where anyone can contribute, write. So it's both for the general public and on open writing mode. So it's a place where social applications can be developed. It was rather simple at first, like with 6 Degrees or Classroom, to simply identify your former classmates. And then, slow and steady, applications like wikis, forums, blogs will enable contributions, and so social medias.